My name is Claire, and for most of my 20s, I thought love was something that happened to other people. From the outside, my life looked complete. I had a steady job as a content editor, a small apartment with too much light and not enough furniture, and a routine that kept me safe from disappointment. I was the kind of woman who smiled politely, listened more than she spoke, and pretended she didn't notice how every wedding invitation felt a little heavier than the last. I told myself I was independent, realistic, mature. The truth was simpler. I had been disappointed enough times to stop hoping loudly. I didn't believe in destiny. I believed in plans, calendars, and emotional self-control. And yet, the story of how I met my future husband began the moment I stepped outside of all that. It started with a trip I almost cancelled. A colleague asked me to cover a weekend conference in a small coastal town. It was raining, I was tired, and the idea of spending 2 days alone in a place where I knew no one felt pointless. But something in me, maybe boredom, maybe intuition, said yes before my fear could answer. The train was late, the station was crowded. I remember standing there, hugging my coat, scrolling through my phone, already regretting my decision. When I finally sat down at a small cafe table near the window, I felt someone bump into my chair. "I'm so sorry," a man said quickly, trying to stop his umbrella from dripping everywhere. In the process, he managed to splash water onto my sleeve. I laughed before I could stop myself. Not because it was funny, but because his panic was oddly endearing. "That umbrella has a mind of its own," I said. He smiled, relieved. And that smile, warm, genuine, slightly crooked, stayed with me longer than it should have. We talked while waiting for the train, about nothing important at first, the weather, delays, bad coffee, then somehow about everything else. He told me his name was Daniel. He was an architect traveling to the same town to work on restoring an old lighthouse. I told him about my job, about how words were easier for me than people. Time moved strangely with him. When the train finally arrived, I felt a small, unexpected disappointment, as if the conversation had ended mid-sentence. We sat together on the train, watched the rain slide down the windows, shared snacks, laughed quietly. There was no flirting, no performance, just an ease I wasn't used to. When we arrived, he hesitated before speaking. "Would you like to get coffee sometime this weekend?" he asked. No pressure. Old me would have said no. Careful me would have invented an excuse. But something about the way he asked, calm, respectful, without expectation, made it easy to say yes. That coffee turned into a long walk along the shore. The walk turned into dinner. Dinner turned into conversations that felt honest and unguarded. He listened when I spoke, really listened, like my words mattered. When I told him about my past relationships, he didn't try to fix anything. He just understood. When the weekend ended, I assumed that would be it. A beautiful, brief encounter. Something to remember kindly and move on from. But Daniel didn't disappear. We texted, then called, then planned visits. Distance was inconvenient, but it was never heavy. Being with him felt like exhaling after holding my breath for years. He was steady in a way that didn't suffocate, kind without being naive, strong without needing to prove it. He showed up, not dramatically, not loudly, just consistently. When I doubted myself, he reminded me who I was. When I pulled away out of fear, he waited without pushing. Falling in love with him didn't feel like falling at all. It felt like coming home. A year later, he proposed in the same coastal town, near the lighthouse he had finished restoring. It was simple, no crowd, no speeches, just us, the ocean, and a quiet certainty. I said yes without hesitation. Today, I wake up next to him every morning. Our life isn't perfect or cinematic. We argue about dishes, forget appointments, get tired, but we laugh every day. We choose each other every day. And in the quiet moments, making breakfast, walking hand in hand, sitting in comfortable silence, I sometimes think about that woman I used to be, the one who stood on a platform, convinced all the trains were going somewhere else. She had no idea that one small decision, one delayed train, one accidental meeting would change everything. And I'm so glad she went anyway.